And we're back. That was quick.
It was quick.
Short and sweet and to the point. So, all right. So can we do a quick, how did we get from there to, like I said, both hands in our pocket?
Next clause. The next clause.
Okay.
Thomas Jefferson said, if I could take one thing from Congress, I would take from them the ability to borrow money. That's the next clause. To borrow money on the credit of the United States.
Well, so originally in credit of the United States as the corporation, or credit of the United States as in you and me, their customer, employee, debt slaves?
You and me, the states, not you and me.
No, I know, but I'm saying,
right.
What is it changed into? Okay, but that was the original intent.
To borrow money on the credit of the United States, and that provision, I'm sure, had everything to do with fighting war.
Yep.
Right? Because they had just financed a war. The U.S. Constitution is a bankruptcy document. Most people don't understand that. And if you go read Article 6, you'll see that, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yep.
So the point is to borrow money on the credit of the United States. First question I have for you, Lynn, what is money under the Constitution?
Gold and silver.
There you go. So what does this mean? To borrow money. Does it say to borrow debt?
No.
It said to borrow money.
Yes.
So the next clause is it gets into reinforces the commerce piece, right?
Okay.
To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with Indian tribes.
And we can say foreign because the states were countries, so the intimation there is country to country. New Hampshire to Massachusetts is foreign because we're countries, but also truly foreign as we know it outside.
Each of the states is a nation in its own right with international rights and privileges.
Okay.
And they act just like the European Union. That's exactly the concept. And a modern example. The European Union is a modern example.
Okay. Wow.
So to regulate commerce, there you go. Now, I'm going to skip the next one, which is to establish uniform rule of naturalization and bankruptcy laws.
Yeah.
That's the next clause, but the next one is where we get into trouble.
Okay.
Or what they're not doing. And in our exit from the matrix, by the way, is right here. To coin money, comma, regulate the value thereof, comma, and of foreign coin, comma, and fix the standard weights and measures. Now, why would they fix standard weights and measures?
I don't know.
The Exeter City paper money riot,
Oh,
1785.
Okay.
There's nothing new about paper money and printing too much money. This is why the Constitution calls real money gold and silver. And they knew all about inflation, and they didn't want inflation. So in 17, this was my remonstrance, pointed this out before the state Supreme Court, that the first remonstrance ever filed in the state of New Hampshire had to do with inflation. It had to do with the fact that the state legislature passed a bill that authorized the merchants to do business in paper money. And they didn't want paper money because they knew that some jackwagon would print too much of it and devalue the paper money that was in circulation, because that's what they always do, because history repeats itself. And they said no. So a bunch of merchants signed New Hampshire's first remonstrance, and it took it to the legislature. The legislature assembled as a body of the whole. They said, yep, we got a problem here. They assigned a special committee. That a special committee decided, you know what? The first thing we need to do is reinstate the Coinage Act of 1781, which they did, which set the standard weights and measures for gold and silver, and a depreciation schedule that if you turned in your paper notes, that they would be payable on a percentage of their face value. And the longer you waited, the more that paper money depreciated on the payout. And they set a schedule to the point where it had no value.
Wow.
Because that's what happens with paper money. Okay? So that's why they were very specific here to coin money and to regulate the value thereof. And of foreign coin. But here's the killer: and to fix the standard weights and measures. Why? Because they wanted honest money.
Yep.
Were they objecting to paper money? Here's another reason: they didn't want to be paid with British paper money. That by the time it was reconciled from the Bank of England after it went across the ocean with a boat,
yep,
it wasn't worth the same. They were discounting the paper on the other side. So your receipts were worth less, just like your merchants try to do to you today when you use your debit card.
correct.
How many times you walked into a shady little place run by a recent immigrant who's trying to cheat the credit card system, which says you can't do this, but they do.
Correct.
If you don't expect X amount of money, they charge you a 50-cent fee
to
cover the transaction cost.
Yep.
So they're taking a trim. What little money is being discounted.
So now that you said that, I just had a little light bulb go off. It's a big light bulb. Guess what the towns are doing now?
Right.
They're using debit cards, and not only, holy Murgatroyd, Batman, you're paying
a transaction fee.
You're doing a state fee,
right,
and a town fee, and there's a transaction fee for doing it. Right. Holy cow! What the heck?
I told you. Simple, but it's right there in plain English. Now that you made it relatable to everyone, great connection, right?
Oh my God.
But yeah, that was it, to fix the standard weights and measures. And this is how the definition of the statutory state comes to be. But that's another story for another day.
Yeah. Wow. So that's how we got into trouble. Well, we're not going to talk about how we can fix it, because we have to fix some other things before that happens.
Yeah, our elections.
Yeah, let's talk about elections, but I want you to take a look at this little video, because it leads into, and this is totally verified. I checked with people in Arizona, 100% verified. We're going to play this little clip and come back, and we're going to talk about it. It's about the Dominion machines, which we've had to deal with here in New Hampshire. So could you roll video 3, please? So, just to read you, that is Maricopa County Election Board footage. It's been verified. This is in Arizona, Maricopa County. This is the one where they broke the seals. So the machines have been tested. So it's the same thing there as it is in New Hampshire. We've got the Dominion AccuVote machines, and a couple of days before the election, a week sometimes, the moderators go in, they break the seal that's in the case, and then they break the seal on the machine, and they run a test ballots through there, and they make sure all the numbers jive and the numbers add up and everything's copacetic, and then they lock it back. They print out all the things, everybody checks them, they lock those up, they lock the machine up, they lock the case up, they put them away, lock it in the vault until election day. Same thing, but here in Maricopa County, they have footage, absolutely verified, that whoever those people are went in, after that had all been done, broke them, removed the memory cards. Remove the memory cards, which are generally put in by the company that takes, for us, it'd be LHS, for them. I forget the name of it, but it's a company that prints the ballots and does the maintenance and puts the memory cards in, because they have to be programmed for that election, put them in and they lock it. These guys went in, broke the lock, took the memory cards, changed them, reprogrammed them. So who were they working with? Put them back in, locked them. There's the proof. This is the problem we have, is extreme fraud, treason. I don't know what words to use, to get people's attention. If we can't fix 2020, we can't fix anything. This is proof. We had the same problem here when they did a recount for Wyndham that everybody listened to, and they took the machines, which thank God Wyndham never let anybody touch. They took them up to the state capitol or right next to it and locked them away. But guess who was there at 11 o'clock at night when no one else was, because some alarm went off? Annie Edwards, and there was no one there to watch her. We've got problems, people, with these Dominion machines. We cannot trust them. And that's just on a very cursory, glossing over everything else. We cannot trust these people who are supposed to be keeping these machines locked up, safe, untouched, no corruption, no nothing. And here, time after time after time, what do we have in Georgia? 2 o'clock in the morning, they're pulling out bags of ballots from underneath movable tables after sending everybody home and running them through the machines, not once, not twice, 3 times. We actually have a mother and daughter that was arrested and are in jail for doing it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But that's disgusting. That's proof. And because of these, our judiciary, our maritime courts, that we can't get a foot in, we're screwed. And you've got even worse information about absentee ballots. I'll let you talk now. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And look, if anyone hasn't figured it out by now, the Democratic machine, the Communist Party, that's who they are. Stop calling them Democrats. It's the Communist Party, okay? They have a full-on organized element. They are very, very aggressive, and they are executing a plan with great precision. So they've used all of the above tactics that have been talked about through the election of altering the 2020 election. And here in New Hampshire, what's worse, and Arizona is the same thing.
Yep.
And that is that the absentee ballots require that they be taken to a public official and verified that it's an authentic ballot. 2, that it's not been marked. 3, to be marked in the presence of a public official authorized by law to administer an oath. And 4, to not to discuss how they're to vote. And 5, when they're done, is to actually stuff the ballot into the envelope by witness by the notary, if it's a notary, and then both of you sign the exterior of that envelope. So there's an eyewitness that it is in fact you, because
So are you telling me, Daniel, that you're not supposed to ask for the absentee ballot? It's mailed to you and you fill it out at your house and you go, yep, that's me. You fold it up, you put it in an envelope and you go, yep, that's me. And you mail it back. Where's the affidavit? Where's the certificate? You're telling me that that's all BS. You're supposed to do that in front of a notary. You're supposed to do that in front of one of 5 people that are allowed to. They look at the ballot, make sure there's no marks, no hanging chads or, tomato sauce or anything on there. You fill it out correctly. They don't look, but they watch you do it. You sign it. They certify that it's real, like a real affidavit, not a wink, wink, nod, nod. Put it into the envelope and you both sign it again. Then it goes to the moderator, a real person. That's not happening.
Well, let me give everyone some breaking news. I don't trust the legal team for Kari Lake. And the reason I don't trust the legal team for Kari Lake is a really important reason called Sasiato versus Gardner. If I pronounced the name wrong, it's a federal case that went to the federal court in New Hampshire in 2017. Court gave an opinion in 2018, and it was all about absentee voting. A blind woman had her absentee ballot denied. because of a physical disability because her signature didn't match. So they brought in a signature expert. They argued the case, and the court ultimately ruled that New Hampshire cannot exercise the signature verification process in the statute law. Well, that's a fascinating point. Well, if the court ruled on that in 2018, why is the Carrie Lake case arguing something that's already settled? Because, well, first, they're in state court. Right now, they're still in state court. They're not in federal court.
Right.
Because I'm talking about this was a federal lawsuit here in the federal first district, okay, in the New Hampshire District Court. So, but my point is, they should know, lawyers should know the phrase we call shepherdizing a case, right? When you're going to plead a case, you look up all the relevant case law that may affect the outcome of how the judges are going to rule in the matter.
Is that also known as precedent?
Yes, exactly. Well, shepherdizing is fact checking the precedent, right?
Okay. Yep.
So that's what shepherdizing is verifying that. So why did they not know that the federal court ruled on the matter and said signature verification is not possible by a moderator? That New Hampshire...
Because they don't have the expertise. They're not a handwriting expert. They're not a forensic expert. They're just the moderator, and I'm not putting them down, but they're just a moderator. And in order to compare signatures, you need to be an expert. Like when you go to court, you have to be an expert. You can't think about it or identify as.
Absolutely. And so this is the issue here, right? And so
her team has not done their homework, or they're purposely ignoring it when it's settled opinion.
Well, you're absolutely right. And what bothers me about that is that under New Hampshire state statutes, if you don't authenticate the affidavit, you can't even remove the ballot from the envelope. You can't even check the signature.
So we have people assuming, we all know what that means, assuming that the little envelopes that come, that everybody is honest and everybody's doing the right thing. Okay, that's great, but it's not an affidavit. It's not a certificate. And in any court of law, if you or I pulled that BS, what would happen to us? That is not a stinking affidavit. There is nothing legal about it. There's nothing about it that's been authenticated. No proof whatsoever, except I signed it and I sent it. What is that?
Well, I'm setting up 2020 here for you. So in 2018, we get an opinion from the federal court. Now, here's the disturbing part. The Attorney General's office defending the Secretary of State argued a false narrative because they kept referring to the affidavit envelope as an affidavit when in fact it wasn't lawfully executed. See, the affidavit is the testimony of the affiant, right? The affiant is the person attesting to something being lawful and truthful, that everything within that I've said here is in fact true under the pains and penalties of perjury.
So an affidavit is the affidavit is the
written text.
Saying.
It's the written text,
right,
that what the person is attesting to. Okay. So the affiant swears to the affidavit. The affidavit is witnessed by a certificate. That's what a notary does.
Oh, certificate is a person.
Well, the certificate is the eyewitness that you swear before that it is in fact you. When you do a qualified voter affidavit, if you challenge an absentee ballot, if you apply for a challenge, there's 7 statutes in New Hampshire election law that require that you execute a lawful affidavit. Well, what does that mean? That means that you must appear before someone and recite the text, just like I do when I go before a notary, right? If you go to do, like when we did the remonstrance, that's a big part of this deal that we're working on. What did I do? I had to recite under the pains and penalties that everything I'm charging here is in fact true, because then it becomes a legal instrument.
Correct.
And it can't be a legal instrument. By the way, guess who doesn't have to investigate absentee voter fraud if he doesn't have any affidavits on record? The Attorney General's office doesn't have to investigate because he can't charge someone for a fraudulent crime when in fact he didn't swear it. It's not properly executed. It's not a legal document.
Ding, 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 ding. They haven't been investigating all these years since 1979 because they knew these were not lawful affidavits.
Absolutely. So,
holy crud.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Condition B, right? The state statute says as a condition to examining signatures, shall compare the signatures on the affidavit with the signature on the application for the ballot if the affidavit appears to be properly executed.
So you can't take the ballot out of the envelope because it hasn't been
authenticated.
Authenticated. I was going to
certified, authenticated, verified. Because here's the crime of the century, the biggest crime in humanity. They take an uncertified absentee ballot and stick it in the machine and never to be seen again, because you can't challenge it once it's been removed. So when the moderator doesn't do his job and he calls it good, the fact that there's no certificate on the affidavit, that there's just a self-attestation, that you are just self-declaring in the privacy of your own home, that it in fact is you, it's true, and you should count it. And when they do that, there you go, bingo. How did we alter New Hampshire's election during 2020? 32%. Normally 4%. 4% is the average.
Right, for absentee votes, and it went up to 32.
Because they expanded by statute the exemptions. My boss won't let me off of work. My babysitter won't show up. The National Weather Service has given a bad weather warning. Religious yeah, a religious exemption, or the best one, I'm incarcerated.
So, well, you're not supposed to vote when you're incarcerated.
If you are and you're being held in detention on a misdemeanor charge, or you haven't been convicted of a felony yet.
Okay. Because innocent till proven guilty.
That's right.
Oh, imagine.
It's true.
What have you created? Oh my goodness, you've made me like bad. So we are looking at, so just for everybody to understand. So we have gone, they made ballots. So there's three exemptions. There was only two. They, by statute, put a third one in. Due to the room on this ballot, they had to get rid of the certificate, the affidavit part, the attesting part, the I swear under penalty of whatever, I'm not lying, as you do it in front of a notary. So they got rid of that part. So we don't have to go to a notary. This doesn't have to be legit because we got to put this religious exemption on there, which I'm not even going to go into right now. So these people request it. And of course, there's no checking going on, but we're not going to go there either. You request it, they mail it to you, you fill it out in the privacy of your home. There's no room for any legal mumbo jumbo. There's nothing legal. You just sign it and go, yep, that's me. Fold it up, put it into the envelope. Yep, that's me. Mail it back. And we're supposed to believe that all, which they have since 1979. It gets to the town hall. There's nothing to check because none of them know it's supposed to be authenticated. None of them know it's supposed to be legal. It's an affidavit. So some of them open them in the town hall and clip them together, which they're not supposed to do, which is another show. They take them on the day of voting, and you've got people coming in and saying, here's my driver's license. Yes, that's me. They verify it. You've got to tell your address. You're checked off. You know, you're given the ballot, you go off on your vote, you put it through the machine, you know, practically gave away your first child. But the people that got the absentee ballot proved nothing. That's another story. So the absentee ballots, because I've watched it, the absentee ballots, if they didn't open them at the town hall at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock during the day, there's some people, and it's not the moderator and it's not the town clerk. Some people came along. I don't know if they signed an oath. I don't know what they did. They're opening up absentee ballots, clipping the absentee ballot to the envelope and putting it in a pile. Somebody checks it off the list of people that asked for them. And then, so number one, they're opening them. And according to New Hampshire law, you're not supposed to open them until after the polls close. Two, they're then people we don't know opening them. We don't know if there's an oath. Three, somebody, the moderator's not doing it, and he's supposed to be the one that's making sure of that this is legal and everything matches, of which he's not technically qualified to do. Somebody takes the pile, they say, excuse me, stand in front of you, and they shove the absentee ballots through one of the machines. They're now separated from the envelopes. So now there isn't a snowball's chance in hell that if there was a problem, and you don't know anymore, they've now been separated. So not only the law has not only been broken once because there's no certificate and not done in front of a notary. Two, it was open before the law said you could. Three, it's touched by people that were not the five we know about. Four, it's separated from the envelope and put through a machine that we never voted for. Five, holy cow.
Yeah, it's a big mess. It's a big mess, and the legislature is doing nothing about it.
Which, as we close out the show here, it is the job of the state legislature to enforce the Constitution as it was written, at the time it was written, because it was never amended by we the people, so it must stand as it was written at the time, and they've got Alzheimer's. They've got, I don't care.
Well, look, Dave Scanlon, Secretary of Scanlon, recently testified before the Executive Council that, in fact, the entire 20 plus years of his career in that office, working alongside the former Secretary of State, Bill Gardner, that they have never, ever, ever had an execution of an affidavit certificate. Well, here's the problem. And so they said, we follow the law pertaining to absentee ballots. Well, let me share with your audience the law prior to its removal. This was the state statute relative to the execution of an affidavit. Ready?
Yep.
This was statute 55:A:6. Execution of affidavit and certificate. Such affidavit shall be executed before a person authorized to perform notarial acts pursuant to the provisions of RSA 456A. Such officer, upon compliance with the tenor of such a certificate, shall execute the same. So joining thereto proof of his official capacity, and he shall forward the affidavit and certificate to the city or town clerk of the town or city named for the submission to the supervisor of the checklist of said town or city. There's still a law in the books that doesn't read quite the same, but it says that all election law statutes that require the execution of an affidavit must be witnessed before an official authorized by law. So if that's what the law says, why is no one following it?
And
why is the Secretary? Yeah, why is the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office not following it? Because who's training the moderator to look the other way? Because the moderator is supposed to do what? Make sure that the affidavit is properly executed. Well, if he isn't looking for a certificate, why isn't he looking for a certificate? Who trained him?
No.
Who trained him?
He's
a volunteer.
And the lawyer.
Ah.
Same people.
Wait till you see what I have planned for them.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned for the next story.
Oh, it's going to be good. I can tell. Thank you so much. This has really I know a lot of it. I don't say it the way everybody, the fancy words and everything, but I think I do a pretty good job in translating so I can get more people to jump on the bandwagon and question what's going on, because, your vote is priceless and it's been sold. It's being demeaned, kind of like, cash, paper cash is worth nothing. So is our vote. And if you're okay with that, I think you should move to Cuba or China or someplace. We've got to take back this country and take back our actual rights and take them away from the politicians, because they are abusing us and treating us as dirt under their feet. I can't explain it any other way, and I can't be nice about it anymore.
No, you're absolutely right. World War III has begun, and all of us who serve in the armed forces take an oath that doesn't expire. And that oath has a very specific element to it that the state constitution does not have. To defend it, to defend our constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a domestic enemy amongst us, and it's been brought to us by the Communist Party, and it's been well engineered, well organized, well financed. We are at war.
Just before you go, I'm going to tell everybody this is a book, and I think Daniel is well aware of it.
Yep.
Look at the width of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is 1.5 inches wide, maybe 2 inches. It's written by Trevor Loudon. Talked to him several times. Every single name in this book is a communist, and every single one of them are Democrats.
That's right. Absolutely.
We didn't make this up. Your statement. It doesn't matter where I go.
Yeah. It's no longer the Democrat. It's no longer the good old Southern Democrat. Those people are gone. We have the communist takeover, and it's hijacked. Look, it was real simple. They hijacked it through the university system and had 50 years of unchecked counterculture argument about why America's a great place.
Oh my God, it's so sad.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming on and educating us. I just want to tell everybody, make sure you join the chat every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30. Daniel may be there tonight, usually giving absolute brilliant information that we all need to know, like tonight. So make sure you join us 9:30 on My Broadcasters News and Reviews on Telegram. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Daniel, as always. We'll talk with you later. Take care of those puppies.
I will. Thank you.
All right. God bless.